Big Ear Games, and also Peter Vesterbacka as the founder of SLUSH, who has done a lot of launched a lot of startups in his journey of entrepreneurship. So today we want to talk about their craziness of their startups, of their projects that they're doing. So first, I want to have a talk with Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, I know that a lot of viewers, they know you, but I would love to get having kind of brief introduction, and then we go for
brief introduction.
Yeah,
right.
Brief introduction.
Yeah, so I started my career at the original startup. So basically, the company that Bill and Dave started in their garage in Palo Alto in 1939. Okay, but I didn't start in 1939, but they did. So but anyway, so that was of course the famous Silicon Valley garage, and the company was HP. So that is what started Silicon Valley, and I always like bringing that up because it's good to remember that Silicon Valley wasn't created yesterday. It wasn't created by Google or Apple or Facebook or Twitter or one of these newcomers. It was actually created when Bill and Dave started their company HP in their garage in Palo Alto. And it's a great place, so you should go and visit the garage if you are ever in the area.
It's still there.
It's still there. That is actually the first historical landmark of Silicon Valley.
Wow.
So it's a very important place. That's like the birthplace of Silicon Valley. But yeah, anyway, so I started there, and then I actually also was fortunate enough to meet with Bill and Dave when they're still alive. So fantastic entrepreneurs, great inspiration for all of us, and of course they built like a fantastic company, fantastic culture. Then after working at HP, I've done a lot of work with different startups. Most recent one was Rovio with Angry Birds. So I spent 6 years building the Angry Birds brand, and we made that the fastest growing consumer brand on the planet.
Nice.
And then together with a few friends, we started SLUSH in 2008. That also became now the biggest and best startup event like anywhere. And of course, super happy that we now have it in Shanghai since a few years as well, and really looking forward to SLUSH Shanghai in September, actually September 7th and 8th to be exact. And then I'm also working on a little project on the infrastructure side, so I'm building a tunnel connecting Helsinki and Tallinn, making that the fastest growing metropolitan area in all of Europe and maybe beyond.
Nice. We've heard a lot of outstanding projects, which in continue, you got to go through one by one of those projects. So, Aviv, thank you so much for being here. We need to have a kind of brief introduction from you yourself, if you can have it to our viewers.
Okay. So, I started as a child in love with music. Played drums, learned drums, and did many other things until I became a medical doctor. But then I decided actually to go back to my first love, music, and went back to learn music, to study music, and then became a music teacher.
Nice.
So in the last
what
20
instrument
years...
do you play then?
Drums
Cool.
and percussion.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
This is your
Main instrument, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Excellent.
And then while being a music teacher, I discovered some problems in the way we are maybe teaching and actually learning music. And I decided to go for it and to create a mobile music learning game, which we call Big Ear, to try to solve some problems and to make music more available to people.
That's perfect. I mean,
So
how
here
long ago?
The whole project started about 2 years ago, but the company and the real move started from December, more or less. We started, yeah.
Have you been an entrepreneur before that, or is your
Not
first
really,
year?
not really. I did small things as an entrepreneur, but this was my first pushing out.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah.
Yes.
So that was a cool thing. So we get back to Peter, and we're going to talk about his project. Then we get back to you. Okay, Peter. I know that you're working on a kind of big project, which is called Tallinn Tunnel.
Yeah, it's like the Helsinki to Tallinn, and so it's the Helsinki-Tallinn tunnel. Yeah.
It's a tunnel. So what is this tunnel? And
Yeah, so I mean, like not many people know, but Helsinki actually is the biggest passenger harbor on the planet. So we just passed Dover last year to become the busiest passenger harbor, and so there's a lot of traffic between Helsinki and Tallinn. So like most of the traffic from Helsinki when it comes to passenger traffic goes to Tallinn, and it takes 2 hours by ferry. So what we actually decided to do is to cut that down to 20 minutes. And if you look at Helsinki and Tallinn, they are fantastic hotspots for startups. I mean, we have things like Skype. We have now Taxify, the latest one. So Estonia has created 4 unicorns, and it's like pretty cool for a nation of 1.3 million people. And then in Finland, of course, we have Supercell and Rovio, and we create Linux and MySQL and Nokia and like a few things over the years. So we think that we want to accelerate things and bring the 2 fantastic cities closer together and make it into one metropolitan area. So we're building a tunnel that will connect Helsinki and Tallinn by fast rail, and that's going to make Helsinki airport to Tallinn airport 20 minutes. So then de facto we have one metropolitan area, so it's kind of like a metro connection. So that's something that we're now building together with the team, and we'll have the first trains up and running the 24th of December 24. Easy to remember, date.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty big project. 15 billion euros is like the current estimate. And it's not just about the tunnel, but it's about what the tunnel enables. So again, it enables one combined metropolitan area, it enables much faster growth, and it enables fantastic talent density. So we think that we can create something that is not the Silicon Valley, it's better, and it's better because we're doing things very differently. Right. So I think that is something that, when we started SLUSH was also the whole point with SLUSH, that, you come to Helsinki in November, it's cold, it's dark, there's slush on the ground. So it's very clear immediately that it's not Silicon Valley, and actually it's better. It's better because it's different. Yeah. And I think that same spirit now with bringing Helsinki and Tallinn together, I think we can do fantastic things. So that's kind of like maybe like the high level thing. And then of course, as we're doing a tunnel, then we decided to create some other like tunnel branded products. So like behind us here we have the famous Helsinki-Tallinn tunnel vodka. Nice. So just like the tunnel brings 2 cities together, the vodka brings people together. So it's like the same like theme. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's perfect. Awesome. How long this project is going to take time?
We started like 2 years ago, and we will be done end of 24. But of course, this is one of these projects that kind of like never end. So we start by building the tunnel, but then there's a lot of construction above ground. So we're building 4 like fantastic station areas for like 50,000 new people. And again, talent density and talent intensity will be like super high at those. So one of the stations is next to Aalto University. Then there's one station in Tallinn that's close to the universities in Tallinn. So, again, bringing the universities, the talent, everything into close like geographic proximity. And of course, one thing that we shouldn't forget, that Finland and then, like Helsinki and Tallinn, we're the closest neighbor of China in Europe. So like when you fly from China, you always end up going over Finland. Right. So we have very good connectivity to China and all of Asia. So I always say that if you look at now Helsinki and Tallinn, what we're creating is really, like this core or this heart of Eurasia. Europe on one side, Asia on the other side. So our home market is actually 5 billion people. So it's like 70% of the world's population. So fantastic place to be. And now when we also bring in all the talent, we can do anything.
Perfect. This project, financially has been funded by governments or...
No, it's completely privately funded, and that's very important that we have full support from both the Finnish and the Estonian government to run this as a private project. Yeah. And that's something that we've been now working on the last 2 years to get that clear and clarified. So that's very good. And I think then of course, it's a lot of money, 15 billion euros, but I don't think funding is not like the biggest challenge. I mean, it's again like the whole thing of getting all the necessary permits, getting like the zoning and like all the planning done. But yeah, so far so good. So I don't see any major obstacles, and I'm very confident that we will have the first trains up and running end of 24, and probably have a very good like contribution from China. So obviously this is part of the Belt and Road initiative, so connecting Europe and Asia, and I think that we'll see a lot of opportunity for, of course, like the big companies to collaborate, but also in the startup side, that there's a lot of opportunity now to work on the future of mobility, the future of how we kind of get around autonomous vehicles, mobility as a service. So we have fantastic kind of like new regulation in place in Finland. So it's now very easy to actually deploy these, not just do trials, but deploy these new services. So it's like super exciting. Yeah.
So it shows that Peter is not only thinking about internet industry, he's thinking about every single project which can bring value for any country or for any people anywhere, which is awesome, which is really good and so on. So now we want to connect the talk as Aviv is in game industry.
Yes,
and you are in game industry.
Yeah, and I think what is important here, actually, games industry is like fantastic example of what we are trying to do. So there's kind of like no reason why like all the best games would be made in Finland, but now many of them are, and I mean, of course, the shining star Supercell 10 billion, like with Tencent. So of course, fantastic, and Rovio and Angry Birds, another like fantastic success story. But I think that there's continuous stream of new success stories. Like now, latest one being Small Giant Games. They're doing like fantastic, and there's more and more of these like success stories, like almost like every day, because we have very high talent density. Nice. And then what Aviv here is doing. Again, moved to Helsinki from Israel, because again needed to be at the core of the action when it comes to creating great games. Nice. And in Finland we have fantastic games companies. We have the highest density of developers, of companies anywhere on the planet, but also we have fantastic education. And like what Aviv is doing is fantastic. I mean, it's again it's a game that combines like a fun game with fantastic education. So then Finland is like the best place to be, and Aviv, share. I mean, it's like amazing game that you're building.
Definitely.
Perfect. So we want to know what is your game and what is the value. As Peter said, this is kind of educational as well, educating people how to play music. Yeah, and we want to hear from you.
So first of all, it's a music game. It's about music.
Yeah,
and from there we are going into like what usually we do with music. We listen to it. We can watch also an artist, but we are quite passive. So we take it all in and let it affect us. Yeah. What we are trying to bring here is some kind of a game changer in a way, that we are making the user actually, or the player, more active. So we bring you into actually taking songs, breaking them down and building them up again. And on the way you are actually learning what is music, how music works, and enjoy it. Then when you learn all that, you can also make and compose your own music in our very intuitive and simple interface. What you do with that? You share it with other people. You let them enjoy your music. You give them message. Happy birthday, mom. Then you can take few people together to make one piece of music. So collaboration, which is already happening.
Yeah,
which is already
unity in the game.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Is it any target like ages, or it's all for like?
I would say from 7 years old and upwards.
Yeah, I mean, there's
everybody can
no
enjoy
age limit for music. So like even young children enjoy music, and even like very old people. So I think that's also what's great with music and with this game. That anybody.
Of those characters that you put in, or in terms of the graphic in the game, how is it? Is it
We know already that graphics, especially if it's cute and familiar and caricaturistic stuff, it's gonna be a very wide audience that can enjoy that. So we think about Angry Birds, for example. It's very cartoonish-like and childlike, but everybody, I enjoy it. I don't feel like a child or childish in a way when I'm playing it.
But there's like a child in all of us, and I think that we should like make sure that we,
Definitely.
you know, nurture
These
that.
child that want to play an instrument.
Exactly,
Think about it, like the
exactly.
children of music, call
Yes,
them. Yeah,
yes.
all these people that wanted to play an instrument and still want, but somehow repressed it.
And I think that, again, I mean, not totally like in the same kind of like genre, but still like music games. I mean, music games are actually like a huge market, and look at like how many people bought these like plastic guitars to, you know, be guitar heroes and, you know, play like a rock band back in the day. And I think that this is a great example of this like pent-up demand for really being part of the music. And I think that that is what, you know, like Aviv and the team at Big Air Games, that they really capture that, you know, like demand, that will, you know, and that, you know, desire to
Exactly, yeah. A
you know,
dream.
yeah, exactly. And it's like super cool. And again, it's one of these things that, yes, you know, you learn, but you don't even realize that you learn. And it's kind of like, you know, like playing with Legos, that of course you can do anything with Legos. Here you have like these Legos of music, so you just like put them together and, oh wow, I have a song.
You can make a kind of sign, and then you can share it to your friends and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you wanted to make this game, how was it? I mean, what was the barrier? Where are you thinking, okay, I'm not a developer, I'm not an IT guy, so what I should
Good
do?
question.
How was it? How did you
Okay.
put
So first there was the problem, okay, because as a music teacher for 20 years, I recognized the problem and I tried to solve it in other ways, but then I thought, okay, there's no other way, probably very easy to solve, so let's try this one. What I did first, because I was not in the field of gaming, so I didn't have friends that are coders around me that I could ask, hey, let's do it, and that's it. I did the research, actually. So I checked what's going on, actually. This was my first thing where I put many hours into what people are doing. And then I went also into how is it possible to make it happen? So what do you need to do in order to, so for somebody like me, to get all what I need to make it? But it was not, again, because I'm not from the industry, it was not so simple. But I have friends. I have a very good network of friends and people that I know from the music business. And when I shared my ideas and that I need to find coders, actually, one of them was helping me to find a coder, a student in the university that was very eager into it, to jump into that and to start prototyping. And we just sat there in the room. I'm throwing my ideas, he's throwing his ideas, and then in real time programming something. And then in a week we would have some kind of small prototypes that we would say, hey, how can we develop it? What are the problems? Blah, blah, blah. And this was the start. Then we got somebody to do a little bit music for it, a little bit graphics, and it got, you know, a bit shape.
How is it different from the prototype, the MVP you had and now? Is it big difference or it's kind of close?
The very first prototype is very different. Okay, it was a beautiful concept, but it was not as deep as what we have now. And
Did you
then
consider to make the development in terms of monetization should be in a way that you can monetize it in the pointing system and so on? Did you consider about that?
this is something that is always in your head, because you know that in order even to maintain this kind of game, you need to have some money. And you don't want to count always on some other people paying for you to do this job. So this is always there. And what we came up actually as a business model was the free-to-play model, where we actually offer people some content for free, where they can play and indulge in the game and start understanding what's going on. And then we offer them also songs, instruments, and other assets in the game for purchase, for as in-app purchases.
Peter, what do you think Aviv's barriers would be in continue of having his game in the market?
Yeah, I think that again. I mean, I always say that if you're serious about making games, you better be like very serious about marketing. And I think that there are 700 new games hitting the App Store like every single day.
Wow.
So of course, then it will take a bit of work to kind of stand out. So you need to think about like how do you stand out, like how do you make that make sure that people download your game and not something else. And so I think that it becomes really a differentiation game, and it becomes about coming up with fantastic marketing activities. And for me, marketing activities like that includes like everything. So it's about like building the brand and the story of the brand and the game and everything. So it's not easy, but again, fortunately we have like lots of people like in the neighborhood in Finland who know how to do this.
Nice.
So but yeah, I think that
That's the biggest barrier, marketing.
I think and it's also because if you're a startup, you can't kind of like compete with the big guys in marketing spend.
Yeah.
So it means that okay, if you can't spend like tens of millions or hundreds of millions on user acquisition, then because it's money you don't have, so then you basically need to come up with ideas that are not costing you like 100 million or whatever. And I think that this is the only way, it's one of the ways that a startup can like get out there. But you really need to be very innovative in your marketing. So I think this is one area where we do a lot of innovation in games, and then at the same time we don't do as much innovation when it comes to kind of like the go-to-market and the whole marketing. But that is actually equally important. So you can't, I mean, if you have a great game and nobody knows about it, I mean, like, who cares? I mean, then it doesn't...
It's like having diamond in your pocket that nobody buys.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, like,
So, Aviv, who are your competitors? Do you know any competitors, the big one, the small one? Is there any similar product?
Yes, I can. I can divide them into two main groups. One of them are apps, gamified apps that actually teaching you to play instruments, and there are a few of them. The other ones are use music as a center point, but the value in learning actually is not so strong. And where we are falling is somewhere in between, that we really hope that is a sweet spot, because people want to have value, and that's where our value here, that you really learn the real thing. It's not just playing with things only for fun, but actually it's the real thing. Instead of playing a piano, you play with our musical blocks in the game. It's the same thing. It looks different and feel different.
Is it singing part of that?
No, not yet. But actually, we are already in contact with the Aalto University of how to make external sounds, including human voice, translated into our music blocks in the game.
What would be if you approached to Bruno Mars and having Bruno Mars in your company?
Okay.
superstars.
Yes, that's one of our models, because we are going to use songs, compositions of... And we had already talks, which I don't want to mention yet because nothing has come, but we are really on it.
It's not Bruno Mars.
It's not Bruno Mars, but it's
it was like a good guess, and it's not like out of the question. So.
But it's somebody internationally renowned as a band. So
it's not the Beatles. Yeah, just to be clear.
One of our features, I would say, is that our game will be also a communication channel between artists and their audience. Okay, fans, or just fans of music that might get to know them through our game also.
Right.
So this kind of communication channel, we know already that the artists understand the value of it. Okay, and we know also that nowadays the music industry and artists are looking always for new ways of making interaction with their audience in general.
Yeah, one of the challenges that many parents they have, like, I mean, I know that you started from children's, or you're started from like young people, yeah? Then you want to go through other, I mean, demographically, you want to go to other ages, yes?
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
You started from young ages, yes? Most of young ages people, I mean, like the parents, they're worried about that they're going to game and they're not learning and they're getting too much and they're like ignoring some other necessary things in their life. So how would it be? Have you talked with any like schools, high schools, I don't know, like elementary schools to have your game recommended?
We already did it, and in some schools that we did, there was a great acceptance of the game, not only from the kids, but also from the
Where?
teachers
In Finland,
But also we were in Slovakia and in
Slovakia,
India and in Israel.
Nice.
And one point here is that the role of gaming also, hopefully, is going to expand. Okay, it's not only pure entertainment. There's much more to it, and that's where like fun learning is coming into the story. Okay, and I can tell you one thing. We had one session with brainstorming, and we were asking people what is the biggest values that they see in our game in one word. And guess what? I was always thinking, wow, it's learning music. What many people said, it's a good game.
Yes, exactly.
And I was like, what? But what about the music? Nobody spoke about the music as the first thing. Okay? It came afterwards in number 2, number 3, number 4, 5, but not number 1.
Yeah.
So people see now good games as the main things that they, you know, that give them a great value. And that's where we are standing, like with some other games, of course, that are now trying to get this kind of...
Peter, as you are, you've been in this industry for many years, and you're famous in the world in terms of this industry, as well as a great entrepreneur. What do you think about Aviv's projects? So, in terms of marketing that you mentioned, those barriers and so on, do we have any unicorn game, like, is this game, what is the name of the game?
Big Ear.
Big Ear.
Big Ear, yeah? This Big Ear. Is Big Ear has the potential to be a unicorn?
Every company has a chance, of course, but I don't think that. I mean, unicorns.
It's a difficult question.
Nice, like
do you
it's
call
a metric.
Musically.
Yeah,
Do you call it
they're-
unicorn? No.
Almost. They were like,
Almost.
It's like the billion like dollar like metric. Of course, we need to keep in mind. But I think that it's actually important question, not only for like in this case, big ear games. That okay, can big ear games become a unicorn? And if you ask me, of course. But then what we have to keep in mind there is that of course, but then it will require that you a lot of things, but also that you are not afraid of going out there and doing it and making it so and making it happen. And I think that this is the very important like thing for like any entrepreneur, be it like in this case like games or anything, that you have to believe it's crazy. That like you
have to
go
be crazy on.
Yeah. I think that it's very like
Passionate.
typical for entrepreneurs that you you don't take no for an answer, and like then you believe in what you're doing, and then you're kind of like going out there and you're making it so. So I would say again like why wouldn't it be possible? And I think that of course it is, and then you just need to. Of course, not only get the product, or I should say products, because again, if you just, okay, let's make this one game into $1 billion game, that's, okay, we might win on the lottery. So it's like you need to do probably like a few other things. It's not like the norm that, okay, let's make a game
First
and it's
game,
like $1 billion.
exactly.
So I think that you need to kind of like have a bit of
A great vision.
yeah, to have great vision, and then you have to kind of like stay the course, and you have to have the stamina to kind of like and the patience. So it's so yes, I would answer that of course bigger games can become a unicorn. But then it's also like, what do you want to become? And I think that it's becoming a unicorn is a bit like, okay, yeah, let's make $1 billion, and of course, who wouldn't like love that? But I think that it's again like with music, and I think Aviv started very well here that he loves music. Many people love like music, and you should work on like what you love to do. You bring the passion to the company, to the products, and you can actually tell that always. Any company can tell it from the product. And then when you do that, yes, of course, it will become like a unicorn. But is that the thing that you will like enjoy the most or appreciate the most? Probably not. I think it's about like making great products, making great experiences, making things happen. I think that's like the thing.
Yeah. So Aviv, what is your great barrier or challenge that you have now? Is it the funding part? Is it the marketing part? Or what is the greatest barrier that you have now?
Yeah, what I see right now in front of me is that how we actually bring these games that we have right now into the market, making it available to people, meaning that they will play it actually, getting feedback from them and seeing how we can do it even better, develop it more. Whatever changes need to be done, we are ready to change them and to improve. And that's the main challenge that I see right now. I totally agree with Peter that love to what you do is a super important ingredient here. I think that's what we have, because the process, as you can imagine, was not easy. It was always, there were already challenges. I think when you have this in mind and you get some positive feedback and you know what to do with it, and you focus with patience, I think then you have a better chance to go on and to break it into the market in some ways that will be valuable for you. Yeah. And again, is this 1 billion the thing that is the most important right now? I don't know.
Cool. Peter, based on marketing, we know that, okay, like Helsinki is the best place to develop your game and build up your game and so on. Where is the best place to market your game? Is it China?
Everywhere.
Is it India? Is it USA?
I think that all the markets are
online
important. Yeah, online, but it's also there that it has to be tuned to the local conditions, and you have to understand the local market. And I think that that's why you need to market everywhere, and you need to have people who understand then, that, okay, in China, you might have to do things a bit differently from the US or from like Finland or Europe or Russia or India. So it's again that it's very important that you don't have this illusion that, because this works in Finland or this works in like the US or in China, it will work everywhere. You need to always keep in mind that some things are the same, but there are also some things that are very different. So you need to take, in China example, you have to take the Chinese market characteristics into account when you do the marketing. And of course, in China you also have scale, but you also have like specific like platforms, like we of course have like outside as well. But you have you have your WeChat and you have your then outside you have like your Facebook and WhatsApp and like Instagram and like, so you have to look at like in the online like at all platforms and then the specific platforms for specific markets. So even if like a simple example, that if you don't have WeChat in the US and you're using other channels, then good luck with ignoring WeChat in China. So it's simple example, but it's surprising how many companies don't understand even the basics, and then we're sure that China's going to be like pretty much like the US, so let's just like go with what we've learned, and then you realize that wait a minute, it's like different, and we didn't succeed.
If I may say something, you mentioned China specifically. I think in the case of bigger games that have a high learning value, because we are lucky and we are located in We Plus space in Helsinki, where there's a lot of flow of Chinese businessmen from the gaming industry also.
Yes.
We noticed that the education value was very somehow outstanding from the other games that were around us. Cool. Let's call it that way. And we realized that there is something here that is appreciated very much, and it's exactly what we want to emphasize somehow. So I think that's what actually brought us here now, in order to try to let me say, like, reconfirm that actually there is something with this feeling that we had. And I think that we get some positive feedback already, even though we just started our trip right now with the big year game. So we still have tomorrow and the whole weekend, the China Joy and the IMGA event, where we will meet very clearly with people that we already talked also in Helsinki about it. Nice. So it will be like second time, and now we will see how we can proceed with it.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully it goes well. Peter, how's it the gaming incubator do you have in your plus?
Yeah, so we have in Helsinki we have a co-development space for gaming companies. So we have a handful of companies now working together actually there, and I think that's also like a great model that you can share a lot of learnings across different companies. So not everybody needs to do same mistakes, and also there are many games out there, so of course you can look at it as everything being competition, but I think that there is plenty of space for many different. So yeah, just looking at absolutely, and that's something that's been very, very good. And I think also we have My Games, one of the companies in the Helsinki We Plus, they're helping with publishing games from the West in China. And I think so you have access to a lot of these, and again, if you never published a game in China, good luck doing that on your own. I think that of course you can try, but it's like a very steep learning curve, and now if you then work with people who kind of been there, done that, I think it's super effective. And now again with big year games, had several meetings already with different players here in China when they were visiting us at We Plus in Helsinki. So it's also important to keep in mind that it's about building the relationship, and it's not just that let's meet with some random person from random company and let's strike a deal. Typically it doesn't work like that. That you need to build a bit of a relationship. You need to learn how the other side, and this side the people, how they work and what they appreciate and the values and everything, and then you can maybe see a sale and a collaboration and all of that. So again, it just takes time, and there's no kind of substitute for face-to-face meetings. I think that is something that also, no matter how high tech or advanced the stuff that you're working on, you still need that face-to-face as well.
That's perfect, and it's admirable that you're bringing China and Europe, as a Finland as the head of this incubation, the gaming, and many other industries that you're doing all your stuff, and this is admirable that you're doing all this, and we are learning from you as a
we all learn every day. So I think awesome. That's if you stop learning, then then you're dead. So you need to.
Awesome having you here tonight.
Hey, it was
really
fantastic to be here.
Yes,
thank you.
Same here. Thank you.
Hope to have you again and again.
We'll be back for SLUSH, and then we'll be back again.
SLUSH and high.
Yeah.